Okay. Can somebody check our email and make sure that nobody's like, maybe I should just check really quick because I keep hearing it ding.
I think it was Emily. She just said that she can't meet tonight, and if we could send her an email overview. But I'm sure if you're recording, that you just send her the recording.
Okay, good. Okay. I heard it ding twice. Let me just peek really fast. Sorry. I don't have my phone. I don't know where it is.
Oh, I think we just got another like kind of general email.
Yeah, there was a general email that came through same time.
Yeah, best practices for secure online meetings and courses.
So I'll show you the file names in a second, but they also have the country codes. And this is in the technical report. It's probably also in the other thing. It's probably in this thing too. But the file names were just like crazy. That's what took me so long to figure out. So I'm gonna try to share that, the file thing, so you can see what that looks like if you haven't seen that. Let me see if it'll work. I think it's this. And then I'll show you
Linda,
this.
Linda, when you guys opened yours up into SPSS, did it take like forever for the data to load? Like, because when I opened it up, it was just like question marks all over the place. And then I just let it sit and it loaded up eventually.
Even if you like scroll across, it would keep the question marks. Yeah. It's
right, but then eventually if I would let it load and it was there.
Mm-hmm. So I downloaded mine as a zip and then I tried to upload it into SPSS and it didn't work. And I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, but I had to like pull it out of the zip and just put it in a file in my computer. And then, so these are the files and you can't just open them from here. But like, if we look at the codes, like the C, the second letter here is for principal and then the T is for teacher. So I was going to focus on teacher. So once I figured that out, I was like, okay. And then the third letter, no, they're all G's. The first letters, like Jocelyn was saying, I think the A is for primary. Were you saying that?
Yes.
And then the B is for lower secondary, C is for upper secondary. And then the P is for like PISA something.
So like Talus PISA link, whatever that means.
I don't really know what that means. So that's what that is. And then let me.
So A is primary and what's secondary?
B is lower secondary.
Okay.
And then C.
All of this is on that page 33 of that. Okay. Of that starting strong data file report too.
Okay.
Yeah, and then C is upper secondary and P is PISA, whatever. And then the C, the second letter is for principal and the T is for teacher.
Right.
And then the rest of it is the country code.
Okay.
So let me try to shift to SPSS and see if it'll let me, see if it's still open.
So Linda, did you notice that some of them said they're like different cycles? So it says the 7th and 8th characters indicate the study in cycles. So did they do multiple cycles of this study?
Yes, there was one in 2003 and one in 2000 something else, and then this one 2018.
So are they? What is different?
Is that 3? Is that what she said?
There were 3 cycles of these surveys in multiple countries.
Oh.
The first one was in 2003, I think.
Okay. Are they in here?
I don't know. I don't think, we don't have that data, but when it talks about different cycles, that's what it's talking about.
Okay. I might have found that one file that we were looking at. Okay, can you guys see my SPSS? Did I share it? Okay. So once you open it, you have to go into SPSS and then find the files, and that took me forever. So you open it and then it's crazy. And this is the variable view. Yeah. Let me make it bigger. So the country ID is like here, and you can click on there and then it tells you, but it's also in that book. I didn't know that until I found the book. So you can figure out what countries. And then these are some of the questions down here from the survey. So you can kind of match it up with the survey. So like for mine, I'm going to just do teachers, and I think I'm going to try to compare like different PISA rankings, maybe like some countries in the top 5 rankings and some countries in the lower 5 or something. I don't think the United States is on here though, but maybe I didn't even look for it. But anyway, I'm going to look at maybe like hours of professional development, because I wanted to be able to do like an ANOVA, because they have like yes or no, like binary, do you do it or not, which is like what do you call it? Like categorical, right? So it's non-parametric.
Yeah.
You can't do so. So
Right.
I was looking for something that was like hours, like numbers. They have hours spent on tasks and stuff like that.
That's what I was wondering too. There's very few variables that have like the scaled data. Most of it is
Most of it is ordinal or nominal, right?
yeah. And so that seems like something that I haven't followed everything in this class, but I do. She seems very like hard lined against using that type of data and putting it through any of these tests, which I'm assuming she's wanting us to do.
Has anybody asked that question? Because I feel like I'm very close to running up to that issue, because like I am interested in some variables that had kind of like those ranked responses, and I'm like, oh, maybe module 5 is going to have a test we can run on this type of data, but I don't know. Has anyone asked that of Dr. Childers?
I haven't specifically asked it, but I do remember way back in module 1 with our first stats chat that I kind of brought up like an idea, like talking about ordinal and kind of some of the philosophy behind it. And she did kind of seem like she was saying, yeah, we'll get to that later in the course. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if module 5 will address that more. So I actually pulled up module 5 to kind of look at it to see if that would be the case. So.
Yeah. Let us know, because before I get too deep into the woods of something that's non-productive, I want to know if I need to stop.
I think one of the modules said we're gonna cover that later during the round down the road in module 4 or 5. So
Okay.
when we covered, I think module 2 or 3, that was noted that we're gonna cover it.
It's
So
not
in the
module
question
4.
we're gonna cover it.
Right, we shall see. Because the vast majority of these are definitely nominal and ordinal responses.
And here's scale ones over here. Well, I'm scrolling way over. Oh, there's some scale ones maybe, but it's not showing up. You guys can see the screen, right?
Yeah. It does look like it does look like in module 5 that it's going to address some of those ones that would be more of the Likert scales and the more ordinal data. So I think, yeah, getting to that point. I kind of was wondering that when I was looking over everything for this assignment, like that I kind of felt like, oh, it'd be really nice to be all the way through module 5 before starting this, because then I think we would have that full picture of all of the different kind of possible tests she's thinking we could use, where right now we, are just really with those t-tests and the ANOVA and stuff. So.
And we don't start module 5 till like April 12th, right?
I mean, it's posted, so you can get started taking it.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Because we have to have the data due April 11th for this.
Right, before module 5 is due.
And the theoretical framework is due the 4th, which that isn't bad. Those two, I think, are. So like, I decided that I was going to do something with professional development or something hours. And then I just looked up, like I found 5 articles on that and wrote it up. And I think our theoretical framework will be based on that kind of. So I don't think that'll be too bad. But
and Linda, you said they're giving you feedback. Like, did you find her feedback helpful? Did she like kind of steer you in a different, like, what was her feedback like as far as?
She said excellent work with a smiley face, I think, on that one. But other ones she has given me more feedback, but so. Okay.
I was
just with the
which part did you submit already? Just the brainstorming?
Brainstorming, yeah. So it was like 2 pages, or well, maybe longer, because each article is like 100 words or something. That's really like, you can get that from the abstract. And I actually found some that were on this data.
Oh, neat.
Okay.
Like I didn't do it purposely, but it came up, so I thought that would be helpful. But what I don't get is, what are all these different cases? Like ID teach, like are those different teachers? Looks like they have, some of them have the same.
I wondered that too, because that's where a bunch of the like scale data comes from. Is that what you're talking about? It's
like what's this 500,217 and 500,218? Are those different teachers?
Probably.
And then the school here, some of them are the same. So they're probably from.
I'm not seeing your data view. I'm only seeing your variable view. Are you looking at data view right now, Linda?
Maybe I paused it. Here, I'll go.
Yeah, it hasn't moved.
I was gonna say it's when you first opened it, it's just stayed on that one same
Mhm.
view.
Oh, weird. Can you see it now?
Yeah, I wonder if that's something you could find in that giant 600-page document of like, does each teacher have an individual ID? Because if you look at it went up to like 9,999. So there's a lot of values there.
That's the PISA. You guys can see the data now?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Those are all the same. I don't know.
But the schools change and then the IDs are all different.
This is going to be a lot. Like, I don't know how far down this goes. This is intimidating.
They're giant. It's like 300 something rows of data.
And to do like a whole paper like this in, 3 or 4 weeks is pretty, yeah.
I feel like the task for me at least is like kind of keeping a laser focus and like identifying like, okay, what is the thing that I'm going to focus on for this assignment? Because there's so many interesting places you can go with it, but it's like once you've determined your focus, like put your blinders on and just like stay in that lane. I feel like that's going to be my strategy.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
What's going to be your strategy again?
Just I kind of once I identified like what kind of general items I was interested in, I like just put my blinders on and I kind of started to ignore all the other interesting things there.
Okay.
And just really stay focused on what I've selected, because there's so many interesting things and so many interesting places you could go, but then you've spent 7 hours researching something that's not going to help you on this assignment.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did too. And when I identified my interest, I looked for, to be honest, for like theses and dissertations that were written to see if I can borrow a theoretical framework too.
Mhm.
If someone did a pre-service teacher, pre-service education, and compared and did this and that, I can apply it to my interest in a different way. I can have the theoretical framework ready. It doesn't mean I'm going to do this for the dissertation, at least for the time constraints that we have now to do the assignment. At least we know how to do it now, and you can finish the assignment on time.
Well, the thing is that we have so much work still ahead of us that, I think Missy was the one that said it would have been nice for us to have had the module 4 and module 5 content already to be able to work through this final, assessment, but it is what it is.
And it sounds like module 5 is going to be well, I guess like the final due date is the 25th, but the data analysis is due before that.
Yeah. And I haven't even, has anyone opened the comprehensive final? I'm kind of afraid to even open it and look at it.
I was going to ask. I hope it's just like a regular module, like midterm.
I'm hoping you open it up and it says, surprise, you're done. Congratulations.
I could see that it'll be like the midterm because this is like applying it, and then the comprehensive would be like all the things.
Tests.
Yeah.
Which should be fine, if it's more of like what the modules have been like.
Mm-hmm. So this one has 2,028 teachers. I scrolled down, I finally found the bottom.
Wow.
This is Brazil. So I don't even know how I would like do this. Like if I was looking at even 3 questions, how do you run ANOVAs? How do you compare different countries?
That's a good question. So how many data sets do you think that she expects for us to analyze? Like 2 or 3?
I don't know. I haven't looked that far in the thing.
I'm trying to figure out how you would compare. So even if you're looking at, like if you want to say, so how much time does this teacher spend doing professional development? Are you comparing it to like what are you comparing it to? Like their professional happiness? Are you, I mean, there's not, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like there's I'm having trouble trying to figure out how to tie them together and come up with some kind of, I guess, hypothesis or some idea. I mean, I'm thinking it through it that direction. Like, what am I trying to find out from this data? Or are we just trying to present the data that it is? You know what I'm saying? Are we looking at what do the countries get from this? Are the teachers who do more of a certain thing, are they more satisfied in their career? I mean, is that what she's wanting us to do, to take them and compare the two?
That's from what I'm gathering from everything that I'm reading, and is that we're picking a research question that we could use this data to answer, and then we do the background research and get the theoretical framework, and then we have to pick the appropriate statistical analysis tests to test that hypothesis or test our question, and then write up what we get for the results. So in my understanding, or when I was looking at it, I was thinking along the lines of, you know, trying to find ways to maybe compare different groups or compare different things. Like, for example, I'm interested in the mentor-mentee idea. Like, are people who are involved in mentor-mentee more likely to be satisfied with their current job? And so you could run a potential independent t-test comparing you have one group that's going to say, yes, I'm in a mentor-mentee, one group that's not in a mentor-mentee, and then take their scores for a particular question that that shows satisfaction, or that you are using to measure satisfaction. And then you could see if there's a statistical difference between groups that are in that relationship. So that's just one idea that I've been throwing around or thinking about. But like I said, I think the purpose of this is for us to look at the data as it's just a data set that we can use to answer whatever question we want. So, I mean, at least that's my take on it. And I don't know if that helps anybody or if that makes it more stressful. But, that's what I think she wants us to do.
Okay. So I guess, I'm sorry. I guess you could use like some of the nominal data with the scale data. Like, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not mixing things that don't mix. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not comfortable enough with the theoretical framework and all the, when we do things in her class, she kind of gives us the data and tells us what to do with it. But to just take it and go, okay, so how does this really give me the answer to this? I'm not sure I'm there yet to really understand.
And the fact that we've had limited I feel like I have a limited toolbox of statistical analyses that I can run. And so I think Missy's right on point. It's sticking with something that it just kind of keep it simple is kind of my brain is keep it simple, work with something that you're going to be able to run an analysis that we've covered so far. And go from there.
Yeah, just go back to module 1 and see what tests you ran, module 2, module 3, and then just be selective in terms of what is applicable to your data that you selected, and then run with that. Because remember, we also have a limited amount of words that she wants. So it's not about a lengthy document, it's about a very concise and coherent analysis.
That's a good point.
And Jocelyn, too, I do think you kind of actually brought up the exact point she wants us to do with it is in our modules, it's do this, do this, do this. She wants to see, can we take those tests and actually use them, in a different way, and that's, I think a lot of times, that's our goal in our own classrooms too, right? We want to see how students can actually utilize the information. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was doing everything, just going down the list. So I did module 4, not realizing this was due now, and module 4 is not due for a couple weeks. But module 4, I felt like, I don't know how many of y'all have looked at that, but I felt like it started to get a little more into you kind of arbitrarily deciding what to do with data, because it's all about a dependent and independent thing. And so just looking at this the little bit that I've seen, mine is like taking 5 hours to download. I think our internet is slow because we just started online school, and so I think everyone in the town is on the internet all day, more than they have been. But oh well. But yeah, so like I think you could either use the countries or not, and say, does living in this country affect this other thing? And I'm gonna say it does, and then I'm gonna look at the data and say, this, happiness is based on what country you're teaching in, and then I'm going to use the test. I can't remember what the ones. Oh no, I do know. It's the Pearson. I have a daughter named Pearson, and the thing is the Pearson correlation. But so I think it really is just like you're going to say, here's how this data might connect, and then you run the test, and then you say it either does or doesn't based on what the stats says.
I think
Like
that
the only thing that makes me wonder, Zach, in your comments is like reading through to the research questions part of the document. It's saying like research questions should not be able to be answered with a yes or a no. And I feel like I'm leaning towards questions that basically are like, are these two things correlated? Are these two things related? And it's like, oh, that's kind of a yes or no question. So I'm kind of battling the like, how do I still frame it as an appropriate research question, but make it so that the data can be analyzed in that simple way. So I'm just like,
Maybe something like, what is the relationship between this variable and this variable, rather than is there a relationship, just what is the relationship?
Or how are they
That's a
related?
good point.
yeah.
Yeah, I think if you do like a correlation, then you can tell the direction of and the strength of the correlation and the relationship. But maybe that's what she means. That seems really weird though, because you usually just like reject or fail to reject the null. Like that's pretty, yes or no, I don't know. Can you
Yeah, I
guys,
was just reading some of the websites that she had posted, and
okay. So this is what we have to do next, and it looks like we do have to do like a research question. But I think if we keep it simple and like just compare two things, then we can do a t-test and maybe just run one. Yeah. But I think if we did like different questions, we'd have to run a t-test for each one.
Yeah.
So
Can we have just one research question?
huh?
Can we have just one research question?
Let's see. Can you see the
says you can add or take away rows as needed.
We'll get the bug in a second, Erica. It has two here. I'm not reading it very carefully.
When you get to the data analysis page, it just says analyze your research question, not plural.
Okay.
Oh, is this the whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
What? Oh, that's it. Oh my gosh.
Erica. My name is
This is Erica.
Hi, Erica.
So I think the rest of it's kind of intimidating.
it's intimidating to me.
Yeah,
And something in there about look at your previous classes at Texas Tech. I haven't had enough previous classes, but I felt. I mean, like the theoretical framework in itself sort of intimidates me. I haven't had a class on that. Have you guys had classes on that yet?
No, that's a new concept for me, coming from a science background.
That was something I struggled with a little bit in Dr. Zimmerman's class.
I was gonna say, didn't we talk about it last semester a
It
little
was
bit?
like briefly. It wasn't like to understand what it was. I didn't.
Yeah, and then you realize some of us
I
were like,
I can't tell you what it is.
He kind of had the assumption that we knew what it was,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think there's actually a class for it, but we haven't got to that class yet because I looked it up thinking, where was I supposed to learn this that I didn't learn this? So
I think I'm in it now because I'm in a class that's called like Theory and Theoretical Frameworks, but we're not learning that. So it's with Dr. Cruz. It's like a philosophy class, and it's wild.
I love Dr. Cruz's class, but at the same time,
Oh yeah, you're in it too.
like I have nothing that's going on in there. I love the conversations we have, though.
I'm still stuck on the tree falling in the forest thing, and I'm like, well, it just makes sound waves. Like that's why are we doing? I don't understand this conversation. Like,
I thought the idea to look at thesis, like a thesis or a dissertation, was brought up. I thought that was a really good idea. So I may like go to that first and see if I can find some examples. I'll work better with examples than definitions. If you show me the example of something, I understand better than if you just tell me what it is. So I think that's like maybe a good way to go about this. I just want to make sure that going into the brainstorming that I'm actually on the right track and don't end up having to go back once I get further in and change everything to make it fit what she's really wanting. So, but it's extremely intimidating. Extremely.
I completely agree. And I think I'm going to have a hard time finding the motivation to do this because looking through the questionnaires, they're not about things that I want to research. Like that, it's not what I want to focus on. So I think my motivation in the current state anyway is already lacking having to work from home.
I agree.
Has anybody browsed through the document called Changing Interest and Sustained Knowledge in the TALIS 2018 Framework? I'm wondering if this document, it's below the data in the TALIS website. I'm wondering if it'll yield some information regarding frameworks, because earlier we were discussing how there's not enough classes to know frameworks. Maybe this document will yield some information to help us out with the frameworks. So I was kind of exploring it a little bit right now.
And I think also in the document that Dr. Crowther's posted, in that section, there's a couple of links to websites that are discussing like what is a theoretical framework. I haven't perused it deeply yet, but I do know that there are some links to kind of help us in defining that term.
Well, since I brought up the thing of reading samples, let me tell you a little bit about my own theoretical framework. So when I read about the pre-service teacher program and the theoretical framework that the writer used called transformative theory, which is a teacher enters the certification program with a preset of perception and thoughts. And during the program, after reading all the theories and all the content material, they will transform. They will be a different person. Mm-hmm. They will look at teaching from a different perspective. And this theory has some construct, okay? So if you take this as a theoretical framework and you take the construct or the variables of the theory and you look at your own issue from this lens. I have read a couple of dissertations, and if you just go ahead and read all the theories, it's going to be a mess. So, you choose your own interest and you see what people, there should be like a couple of common theories that everybody is using, self-efficacy or transformative or whatever, in that particular topic. And you look at the theory, understand it, look at the variables, and it will be very applicable to your own interest.
That's really helpful, Wissam, thinking about because there's most of those dissertations or papers will have a theoretical framework section. And so which frameworks do we see coming up over and over again? Because I think the legitimacy of something is what I question. It's how do I know if this is an applicable theory, if this is broadly accepted? So look what other people have been using. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great idea too.
I think just like what happened with Linda, once you submit it, I think she'll be really, really good at giving you feedback and kind of moving you towards the right direction. And I think that's why she's scaffolding the final paper to be able to gear all of us in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So I think we shouldn't be too nervous about it because I think that she will provide feedback and guidance in that regard before you have to submit your final.
I think like with the theoretical framework part, we do our research question and we also have to say how we will analyze it. So at that point, I think she would stop us and say, no, you can't do it that way. Hopefully if we're specific enough. And she has an example here, like competence Likert scale, ordinal data, and then using the Mann-Whitney U test. So that's a non-parametric one. So maybe we should do module 5 really quick.
It doesn't look that long, so that makes sense.
Everything seems to be taking like 5 times longer right now.
I know, it's so hard to focus.
I'm telling
I'm
you.
tired of sitting in front of the computer.
Yeah.
The article she posted for us on the theoretical framework is actually the exact same article that Zimmerman gave us last semester. I don't think it was one of the required ones that we had to read, but it was definitely one he gave us because I found it.
It's
in
very useful. It's very
So-
useful.
I definitely didn't read it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, if you go on to the resources for the application final, there's one link on there that says how to select a theoretical framework. And then it's an article. And like I said, Zimmerman gave it to us last semester, but it wasn't a required reading, so I can understand why it might have slipped past.
That's the best article I had from Zimmerman's class last semester. Is this article? After you read it, you really understand what a conceptual and theoretical framework is, because they use analogy and I learned by example. So they give you the example of the house and the floor plan and everything. It's really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The whole thing with alignment though is easy. If you're doing like pre-service education, you make sure you ask questions related to that, to link back to the theoretical framework. You don't research a question that's irrelevant. That's all. Whatever you ask, make sure that it contribute to your research, and it answers some part of the research. If there is something unrelated, why would you research it? It doesn't add anything to your research. That's all.
Well, that was that whole assignment we did for Dr. Zimmerman, was the alignment of the theoretical framework. So
Did you say that paper is in this class too? Like she's given us, because I wasn't in Zimmerman's class last semester.
Yep,
Under
she posted it for.
Okay.
If you go under the application final exam, go into the resources folder. It's the one that is how to select a theoretical framework.
Perfect. Thank you.
And two, if it makes everyone feel better, remember it's only 10% of our grade. It's the same weight as everything else we've done. So it's going to be a lot more work than probably most of the other assignments, but it's not worth, a huge amount of our grade in the long run. So I think there's a little bit of room for, if you make some errors, I think it'll still be okay.
Well, and it's the final that's that 10 points, right? It's not this particular part of the assignment.
right. The whole final.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll
'Cause
get feedback throughout.
Yeah, because every assignment that we have to submit for this prior to that final paper is just for feedback, I believe. That I think
She gave me a
it's
0 out of
check.
0 on it, and she said that was normal. So
Oh, okay.
after Zimmerman not giving grades, I'm like over grades. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
I think we have to have a certain grade point average and like mostly B's or something. I read it because I was worried about the global STEM class. That was rough.
Were you in diversity ideologies last semester?
Yeah.
Where we didn't get anything until we got a final grade?
Yeah.
Oh.
Rough.
So I collected a couple of questions I can approach Dr. Childers and ask her.
Okay.
So how many data sets are we expected to analyze? That one. How many research questions? Can be one research question. Are we going to cover the Likert measure in module 4 and 5? And I'm still unsure how to extract the data from the SPSS. Like if you choose one variable, say pre-service education, what is the data for that variable? Are you guys comfortable with finding the data for each variable?
I think we have to look at the questionnaire and then figure out which question it aligns to, and maybe just pick one question. And then I think I'm going to like copy and paste the whole bloody thing into Excel. And then, because I don't know how to do an ANOVA on 2 countries when they're on 2 separate files. I have to put them
In the same place.
That's probably another question. Do we have to extract all the data? 2,000 something teachers. Can we just take a sample of 50 teachers?
Right.
Maybe
Randomly
that's
select some numbers.
And maybe we can just click at the top and copy, and maybe it's not that bad. That's a lot. I don't know. It's crazy going from like 30 that we've been doing to
Yeah, exactly.
that's a big jump, you know?
Yep.
That's worth asking is, can we take a random sample of those?
Great. Do you guys have any other question you want me to add since I'm going to email her?
What about like specifically with the parametric and non-parametric, like is it okay to use non-parametric data and use the Likert scales, or should we try to just use parametric and use the other analyses?
Sure.
Which kind of goes along with module 5 stuff.
Okay. Do you want me to ask her if these are 3 cycles of studies? Is that important to you to know?
So 3 what?
3 cycles of studies?
I think we only have the data for the 2018.
So we're not
No,
comparing.
I don't think so.
Okay.
And there's on the file that there's a 3 at the end, and that might be, this might be the 3rd cycle. It might be what that means.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that, Wissam.
Of course.
Yes, thank you.
And I'm going to send this video out to everybody, maybe a link, so it, or maybe I'll just put it on YouTube. I'll just put it on YouTube, then you don't have to download it.
Sure.
So
All right.
Thank you for organizing, Linda.
yeah,
If you guys feel we need to,
hang out with people too.
if you guys feel we need to meet with the teacher, how do you feel about that? Do you want me to request that? A meeting on Zoom, maybe?
Yeah.
I think, you know, especially since we do have a list of questions, we could maybe share that with her and then say, could you potentially, you know, meet us for a Zoom to answer these questions?
Okay. What about time? This is a good time, at least for me.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Jocelyn, are we Friday?
What? Oh yeah, we're planning to meet Friday, but I mean, I'm flexible. It's just
Yeah, me too.
we can adjust.
Not going anywhere.
Exactly. We just went down into like a full-on lockdown for the whole county. So
Oh, I wish we would.
the house. So one thing that if we had a Zoom meeting with her, maybe she could just like provide examples of how to get the data out and how to bring it together. And there might be an easier way than trying to copy paste it all into Excel, you know, because there's just so much there. It's like if I could just cut it to what I need and then, you know, run different, it would be a lot easier. So maybe she can show us how to actually work within the program to make it, we can just compare the variables we want to compare as opposed to having just massive amounts of data there.
I kind of wish it was in Excel to begin with.
I do too.
I don't know how the variables would be though, like you couldn't identify them, but I think, or have both, like have SPSS and Excel version. That would be nice.
I like the SPSS more than the Excel, the way they do the output, and sounds
Yeah.
like user friendly.
Yeah, but it's hard to like move things, and I don't know. It's gonna be a
It's
lot.
familiar. I think it's just learning something new on top of learning something new. You know, it's like a double whammy.
Since we're here, guys, how do you feel about the other class if you're taking it with Zimmerman? The crosswalk and they say, I say, and the other assignments. Is
From
anyone
last semester?
from Zimmerman?
Are you in that now?
Yes.
Oh,
Are you in that class?
I don't have Zimmerman this semester.
No.
The research introduction or something?
No, it's a curriculum theory. That's the course. You're not taking it, Linda? No? Okay.
It's not, weren't you in Zimmerman's class last semester?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not that, okay. Yeah, I'm in Cruz and then Smith in this one.
Oh, you're taking 2 or 3?
3.
3, okay.
I just Googled it. There is a way to export SPSS data into Excel.
Oh,
So
okay.
I didn't like look closely at it, but I just put it in Google and said, can you export SPSS data to Excel? And there's videos on how to do it. So for, if you prefer to use Excel, there is that possibility, or it might be easier than, copying and pasting or whatever, but it's still going to be a lot of data no matter where you have it. But I kind of like SPSS for certain things, and then I have a comfort level with Excel, so it's kind of,
I think I'll pull it to Excel and tease it down to what I want and then bring it back into a new thing. So I'm not
there you go.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it might be easier to delete variables or to just, or to copy and paste the ones you want in Excel versus in SPSS. But yeah, it looks like it's possible. So just a matter of doing it.
All right, I
Keep
think
it
I need to go. So just wanted to say thank you all for participating in this. I'm going to email the professor.
okay, and I'll send out the YouTube on this. So
Yeah, and request a meeting. And meanwhile, you stay safe, okay?
you too.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good night.
I'm gonna hang up too. Are we saying
Yeah, me too.
Robin, are we on for tomorrow?
Yeah, we're on for tomorrow, Missy.
Perfect. All right, I'll
Good.
talk to you then, Robin, and everybody else. Have a great
See
night.
ya.
And we'll,
Yeah.
Bye.
Everybody.